Some neighbors build fences, some build walls. Mine built a river straight into my yard. They thought I would just live with it. They were wrong. It started with a small line of water cutting across the edge of my yard after a heavy rainstorm. At first, I thought it was just one of those unusually strong storms that overwhelm everything. The ground was wet, a few puddles formed, but that seemed normal. I didn't think much about it, but then it happened again and again. Every time it rained, water would slowly creep into my yard and spread across the grass like it belonged there. After the third storm, I knew this wasn't normal. My yard had never flooded before in all the years I'd lived there. So during the next storm, I decided to watch from the side of the house. That's when I saw it. My neighbor had installed a new drainage pipe along the side of his yard. The pipe pointed directly toward the slope that led straight to my yard. All the rainwater from his roof and backyard was being collected and pushed out through that pipe like a small stream. His yard stayed perfectly dry. Mine turned into a swamp. The next day, I went over and talked to him calmly. I explained that his drainage pipe was sending water into my yard and asked if he could redirect it somewhere else. He shrugged and said water flows downhill and that it wasn't his problem once it left his prop. That sentence stuck with me. Not my problem. After the next storm flooded a large part of my yard again, I stopped asking and started planning. I spent a weekend studying the slope between our properties and realized something interesting. The land didn't just slope toward my yard, it also sloped slightly back toward the far corner of his yard. So I made a small landscaping improvement. I built a raised strip along the side of my yard using gravel, soil, and decorative stones. It looked like a simple garden border, nothing unusual. But inside, it acted like a small barrier that stopped water from flowing deeper into my yard. Then I added a shallow gravel channel that guided water along the edge of the barrier toward the lowest corner, which happened to be his yard. The next storm arrived a few days later. I watched from my window as water came out of his pipe like always. But this time, instead of spreading across my yard, the water hit my barrier, turned, and quietly traveled along the gravel channel, right back into his yard, not flooding, not damaging anything, just turning his dry yard into a muddy, soggy mess, the same thing my yard had been dealing with for weeks. 2 storms later, he knocked on my door. He looked annoyed, but also tired. He said his yard had become muddy and asked if I had changed something with my yard. I told him I had improved my landscaping to stop water from entering my yard, which was completely true. He stood there quietly for a moment, then asked what we could do to fix the problem. I told him the same thing I had said weeks earlier. Redirect his drainage into a proper soak pit or underground drain on his own property. A week later, workers came and buried a new drainage system in his yard that absorbed the rainwater underground instead of sending it to me. After that, the storms came and went and my yard stayed dry. Funny how the problem got solved the moment the water stopped being only my problem.